everybody, welcome. I'm Daniel G. Garza, and this is another episode of Put Together Conversations, a show where we talk to folks about their lives, where they come from, where they are now, and what the journey has been like. And we hope that we inspire and motivate you to go after your dreams and goals. I know I say it every time, I'm always excited about my guests. It's because everybody brings such a unique perspective. They all have their unique stories, and I hope that there's always something or somewhere that I connect to my guest. And my guest today, I'm going to read you his bio really quick. There we are. I asked him how to pronounce his name before we started, and he told me. So I'm gonna in my head, Cody Renegar. I hope I said that right. He was raised by a substance abusing single mother. At 6, Cody and his 4 siblings were placed into the foster care system in Arkansas, leading to a series of placements in homes where he endured unspeakable abuse and neglect. Cody found solace in the bonds with his brothers and sisters and occasional kindness from caring adults, such as a neighbor who taught him to paint. When at 7, he was adopted by an affluent couple, he hoped at least to receive the love and support of a nurturing mother and father. But his dreams and expectations were betrayed when his new father proved to be a violent disciplinarian. It would be 8 years before his rescue by an alternative school nurse and years more to heal the trauma. The silver lining for Cody was his own resilience and positive outlook. He never stopped reaching for a better life, and his optimistic, gregarious spirit was never silenced or stifled. Cody sees life as an adventure. He believes that we, not fate, are in charge of our destiny. If needed, we can change the stars in the sky. And I've got chills as I'm reading his bio. So without further ado, let me bring over Cody. Hi, welcome to the show.
Daniel, thank you. I appreciate that intro. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. For all of you watching the show, they know I always tell you how I met my guest. Cody was referred to the show, which I'm so happy, by Rick Caratas, who was on our show previously. So go back in the files and you'll find his interview. A fellow author. I'll admit there's always some hesitation because I'm like, am I gonna when they send me the book, am I gonna connect? Will I know what they're talking about? Chills reading your book. And Rick too, because Rick and I share a lot of similar work experiences, so there was a big connection there. With you, and I'm not going to talk about it because I want you to talk about it, but chills, man, chills. Let me just say that. Thank you for coming to the show and coming to talk about it. I appreciate it. But how are you?
I'm doing well. Just surviving the pandemic. I think we have a light at the end of the tunnel now, so life is good.
I don't want to hold back too much because there's so much to your story that I want folks just to go ahead and get an idea. So without further, Cody Renegar. I said it right the first time. Tell us how you put it together.
How I put my book together? Well, I'm not a writer. I'm a hairstylist and an artist. So I just so many people just throughout my life had said, and I think people say this to each other all the time, that you should write a book. And they'd say it to me, and I'm just like, well, I don't know what's so special about my life or what. And in my first chapter, I say, I just kind of say, everybody has a story, and here's mine. So I just sat down one day with a glass of wine next to my fireplace and just started writing and compiling as many stories as I could remember from my life and my childhood, and just it took me several years because all of a sudden I started having these flashbacks that I did not expect whatsoever, and so I had to take these long breaks. But once I started, I had to finish, and I just ended up with this kind of a pile of memories that were in no order whatsoever, or definitely not chronologically. And so I had my friend Rick. I met him because he interviewed me for his book, Rainbow Relatives. And so I reached out to him and I said, hey, I have this whole stack of memories that I think could do some good in this world. And could you help me put it together? So he held my hand and helped me organize it and go through it, and then we hired an editor at the end to just kind of polish it up a little bit and launched it out into the world. So I think that I say it this way because everybody has a story, and I think everybody should write a book. I'd be ready to read yours if you wrote a book, or have you?
Okay, funny thing is that I've been waiting for the right message to write my memoir. We have a lot of similarities in our stories. I was reading your book. I was like,
I'm sorry.
wow, wow, like I know, like it's gonna sound so weird, but like as I read your story, I was like, you could change the name in some of the spaces, and I'm like, I know that kid. Like I know that kid. And
That's important to me. When I was writing it, I knew there'd be people that were going to relate to it, and that's actually the reason I wrote it. Was I wanted people like you to read it and maybe grab some tools to help them in their own life, or heal.
And there is a part in your book where you see that it's like some of these stories, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, some of these stories may resonate with you, or this might seem like your life. And I was like, Daniel Garza, this is your life. And I was like,
oh, that's
damn.
amazing. Love that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that with me. Yeah, I love that. That's what I wanted, and I knew there were people out there. And I've had so many. Once I launched this book, I had so many beautiful messages come to me. Then people that were relating to, even from strangers, sharing these things that had happened to them in their life, positive and negative. And I just was very validating to me, because once I did launch this book, I kind of panicked because I didn't know. I didn't know how well it was going to be received, or if my message was going to be received, or if people were just thinking, "What in the world did this guy just tell us?" Because it is kind of hard to get through. I know, especially the first few chapters are pretty hard. So I am really glad that people are reaching out and letting me know that they do relate to it and that it is helping.
Well, let's go back a little bit, and I don't want to give away too much of the book, because folks, you have to get this book and read it. You just have to get it and read it. But from the moment you came on this morning, for everybody watching, you've heard me talk about the pre-production. We always have a couple of minutes before the show starts to like get acquainted and calm the nerves. But as you're writing your ideas, as your thoughts and feelings and emotions, are you? I don't know how to ask this question. Like, are you writing from like the first, like, this is what happened to me, or is it like writing the story of somebody else?
Well, since I am about to be 45 years old, and this story starts from before I was born, and I have spent my whole life, actively trying to heal and find these flaws, I feel like I'm writing about someone else. I feel like I'm writing about, obviously, the foundation of who I am, where I came from, but it doesn't feel like I'm writing about, I feel like I'm writing about someone else, honestly, because I was obviously a different person as a child than I am today as an adult. So yeah, in certain aspects, I felt like I was telling someone else's story. And then I was telling the story of my sibling's story as well, and my mother's story and my grandfather's story. So I was just telling the story that was it's always been in my heart, that I've always known. I just brought it out. It's weird to bring, that was something strange. It's really interesting to pull out all those memories that we all carry inside of us and to put it into a book and then read it like a book. And that's what I asked my friends. I'm like, does this sound like a book? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a writer. And it has been well received, like you said. But yeah, I do feel like I was writing about someone else's memories.
Are there times as you are writing where, I did this as I got older. I just turned 50 last year, and as I've gotten older, I've decided to go back. Yeah, that's why I told you before the show, don't even try to look prettier than me, because I'm working really hard at maintaining this look. So there's a lot of filters and lights going on to make this happen. Now, as I've gotten older and my mom passed away last year, so there's a lot of things that I was making peace with and working through. But as I'm doing therapy and meditating, there are times when I go back and talk to the different Daniels at different age stages and kind of comfort them and go, hey, dude, like I know right now is kind of harsh, It sounds like a YouTube video. Like, it gets better, dude. Like, don't hold on.
I can't remember.
Have
Did I
you?
mention that in my book? Going back to talk to little Cody.
I don't know that if I got to that part yet. But
Oh, okay, yeah, I think
uh,
I do talk about that, and that was one of the big. That's so cool that you just said that because that was one of the most useful tools that actually came to me about 6 years ago. Is going back and speaking to your younger self, and I actually after that happened, I realized that I've told people, and they said that's actually a tool that they use in like psychology and therapy and whatnot. But yeah, that's so cool. You just said that. I hadn't heard anybody else say that.
yeah, I think our friend Rick is trying to message us, but he's messaged us in our private chat. So go over to the public chat so we can see your comments. But
Oh, volume's low, but I don't think I can control that from here.
say that again.
I think Rick said that my volume is low.
I can hear you okay. So
You can hear me okay? All right.
yeah, we he lost me there. Yeah, and I was trying to say this because a lot of our viewers, because of the nature of the show, it's about putting yourself together and working through our own personal issues. How important was it for you to have that exercise or that tool to go back and talk to the different versions or the different age stages of you?
It was really surprising how effective that was, and I really encourage anyone to do that. How that happened with me is I had a friend that had some psychology experience somehow. I don't remember quite how, but I was just kind of talking about some things that happened in my life, and he said, "Can I talk to 7-year-old Cody?" And I was like, "What the heck did this guy just say to me?" And and I'm very open minded. I just kind of allowed it to happen. I'm sorry, is my camera off?
No, you're good. I lost your volume for a little bit, but you're back.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
It's okay. We can hear you, but we can't see you now.
You can't see me. Dang, where
No.
did it? Edit name. I'm so sorry. Stop mic edit on.
Well,
Okay.
Cody does that.
Here we go.
You got it?
Yes,
Yes.
Sorry.
I go. There you are.
You got me? Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Live TV, folks.
So he said, let me talk to the 7-year-old Cody. And I was always very open-minded. And I was like, okay. So I just kind of I conjured 7-year-old Cody, and he looked at me and he said, "You're okay. You're safe. You're going to be okay. You're going to live through this. It's going to make you stronger." And he just gave me all these beautiful affirmations, and I accepted it. I didn't reject that thought. And I think that's very important to say. I was extremely open to this and anything, I think that self-improvement has always been a hobby of me because there's just no downside to that. Becoming a better person for myself helps me be a better father to my son, be a better grandfather, be a better husband to my husband, be a better friend to my friends, and honestly, all those that I encounter. So there's no reason, and life is a lot easier whenever you better yourself at every chance you get. So I was really excited to do that, and I just took that tool, and every now and then when I start feeling myself, I think that the secret is watching your patterns, what you're repeating, the negative and the positive, and really feeding the positive, and finding out the root of the negative. And I found that once you find out where it comes from, where these character traits about yourself that you don't like are coming from, if you can find out where exactly what your soul is trying to tell you, then you can fix it. And once you understand where the root of it, then it kind of goes away. You accept that, and you're a stronger person. And then, so right now I actively find my flaws, and it's not that hard, I can tell you, but I actively seek out flaws and try to fix them and find out where they came from and just get rid of them so I can do better me at every turn.
Before I say the next thing I was going to say, I want to remind everybody you are watching Putting Together Conversations. I'm your host, Daniel G. Garza. My guest today is author Cody Renegar. Renegar. I keep wanting to say the A. You know what happens is sometimes my Spanish kicks in, and I want to say the names in Spanish, but no, it's Renegar. We're talking about his new book, Self Improvement, and making peace with yourself. I find that as you're talking about that's process. Those are things that I did when I got sober, when I went through rehab, and they were like, I had all these preconceived notions of who I was and why I was, and this is who I am. And they were like, nope, we're going to completely break down everything you believe about yourself and help you rebuild a better version of you with pieces that you want, not the ones that have been nurtured or natured into you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did you feel like during the book process that you like had to like a Jenga game, like tumble down and rebuild yourself?
I think when I started having those flashbacks, because I had thought I healed, I thought I was living a fantastic life. I had a nice life. I just didn't think that I had needed to go back and reheal. So the way that writing this book happened to me was, or affected me, it felt like when you break a bone and you just let it heal, and it still works, and you're moving, you're walking, you break your leg and you're walking, it's healed, but it never healed properly. So I think that writing this book was kind of re-breaking that bone so that I could let it heal the right way, the correct way, a stronger way. And so I had to really embrace why these flashbacks, and all those flashbacks weren't completely negative. Some of them were just things that took me right back to being a child, even just like flowers or walking through a field. I remember this wasn't a negative, but I didn't want to go back. And I just really realized that I just didn't want to go back to being a child. And all these flashbacks were bringing me right back. And so I had to really ask myself, focus on the obvious reasons of why I didn't want to go back, and just say it's okay, and then go back and talk to little Cody and be like, "You're okay. You're just embrace it. Just take a deep breath and go through." Oh, sorry. Tell me what your question was again.
No, you're doing right. Yeah, no, it's about breaking down the pieces and then bringing back the ones that are going to help you build up.
Right, and just telling yourself that you're okay, especially at this age. When I'm here, I have a beautiful life. I have a beautiful husband. My world is beautiful, and there's no reason for me to go back and be scared of those thoughts. I have to really and be scared of those emotions that take you right back. I just have to keep myself present or hold on to my future as I reach back into my past and hold little Cody's hand, because it really is important to heal those breaks smoothly and intentionally.
Right. There's a part in the book where you're again, it's so hard to talk about a book without telling people about the book, but it's these small fragments, folks. Don't worry, I'm not giving away the whole thing. But there is a part in the book where you talk about finding this R2D2 wind-up doll, and I thought, as I'm reading, and then I get to that part, and I'm like, there's this little shiny moment that is hidden in the midst of all this story. Was it difficult for you as you grew up to find the shiny moments in your life?
Oh, I love that you asked that, because I just used it again yesterday. So that there's also a story about the dandelion. Okay, let me preface that. I started out, I guess for those that haven't read it, I started out this life, a lot of my childhood, we were homeless. We were bounced around, and then once we were taken away, we lived under a bridge, we lived in abandoned houses. We were just homeless, hungry, and lonely, because our mother would disappear for weeks at a time, and my older sisters would have to raise us. So we had no toys, we had no anything. We barely had food and barely had clothes on our backs. So what you're talking about is this abandoned house that we were in, and I found this R2D2 toy stuck in the mud, and I remember digging it up and washing it off in a mud puddle and winding it up and seeing it work. And I say in my book, that was the newest, shiniest toy I had ever seen, much less had. And I was just thinking, I felt so normal in that moment. I was like, I'm just like other kids who have new toys. I remember that thought. And so that, just finding those little gems, the diamonds in the rough, the little gems of hope. Another time was when I was in the military and I was dealing with PTSD, and we were just, I didn't actually know it at the time, but And then everything was green and gray, and people were screaming at you, and it was just such a hostile in basic training when they break you down and build you back up. And I remember sitting in the grass and reaching over and seeing this dandelion, just a basic, the most basic flower, and looking at that and just thinking, wow, there's so much beauty in this tiny flower. And it sounds so basic and simple, but when you're at rock bottom, you're desperately searching for absolutely any beauty in the world. And if I can find that beauty in that dandelion, I can find the beauty in a person, in the sky, and absolutely everything. So it's all relative, 100%. And then yesterday, I've actually been having a little depression lately, not anything bad, but we go through moods, and I think it's the pandemic. But even just yesterday, I just went for a walk, and I reached down and picked up a dandelion, and I actually carried that dandelion with me for 4 miles on that walk, just looking at it and just reminding myself to breathe. And this pandemic's almost over, and everybody's okay, and your kids are okay, and you can just take. I mean, every day's not sunshine and rainbows, so you just remind yourself that there are dandelions. There's R2D2 toys. There's little pearls everywhere. If you want to find them, you will.
Yeah, that is amen. Amen. Because have you found that in comparison to other people around you, sometimes your resilience is just a couple of notches up? It's just like you're like, oh, that, like, yeah, we got that. Don't worry.
I do think that I find a lot of people, and this is another reason I wrote this book, is I find a lot of people, like I said, if you want to find that beauty in the world, you will. But another thing is, if you want to find the negativity in the world, you will. And that's a lot easier to find, obviously. So I think so many people relate as a victim, or it's easier to just be a negative person and carry this cloud with them because there's some type of armor, I think, but it's a false armor. It's a dark armor. It's a bad way to be. So I think that if you are looking for the bad, you're going to find it. If you're looking for the good, you're going to find it. I just think that focusing on those things is the most important thing. What you're looking for, you're going to find.
Yeah. One of the things. Say again.
Did I go completely off of
your question? No, there are no wrong answers here, unless I ask you what's your favorite food, and you have to say tacos. Otherwise, it's completely wrong. Anything else is wrong. I'm kidding, but I'm not. Because there's something that they taught me when I was going through rehab, and it was, and then my first therapist soon after was just going the extra mile to find the silver lining in things, and it's okay to live in a pink cloud for a little bit. Like, enjoy it. It's okay. Because I came from my past was always like, something good happened. Where's the other shoe? Like, I'm just like, where is it? Does that make sense?
Oh, what you asked me if I find other people. Yeah, I do find why I wrote this book. I'm sorry, I just remembered your question. Why I wrote this book was because they say that when you go through hell, and you make it through hell, you should reach around and reach back and give some, a hand to those that are still going through it, or hand out buckets of water, whatever you can do. And I think this book is my bucket of water to those who don't know how to get out of that. And a lot of people don't realize they're in it. A lot of people don't realize they're in a cycle, they're repeating a cycle, or they are identifying as a victim. But again, it goes back to choosing to be happy.
Making the choice, yeah. And yes, you're right, Estella. You just have to take the time. Slow down a little bit, folks. Slow down. If you're driving too fast through life, you'll miss this.
Yeah, if you wonder why you're miserable all the time, you don't realize that you're choosing that. That's my thing, is that all of this is a choice. You are choosing to be a victim every day. If you're living this life and you're wondering why bad things just keep piling on you and everything's happening, you're more than likely inviting that stuff or seeking it out. So I turned around and there's a lot of people on my social media that I was in orphanages with, I was in shelters, even some that I was homeless with. And I see that they were still staying where they were raised exactly that way. And I've traveled the world. I'm open to everything. I eat the most amazing food. I have just a beautiful life. And I'm just wondering, why are these people not doing this? I'm kind of thinking that we're all done. our childhood is over. Move forward. You know, I just kind of thought everybody was going to do that. Why would you want to revisit those horrible things? And then I just realized that they were stuck. So I just kind of stopped and turned around. I'm like, okay, I need to help these people. I just thought we were all just free. And that's not, and not everyone's in that mindset, you know. So many people just know that's their comfort zone. Being a victim is their comfort zone, is all they know. And there's so much more to this life. There's so much in this world that's just absolutely phenomenal. And why would you keep yourself stuck in that mud puddle and that hell? So I wrote this book and there's so many lessons in here to teach you how to choose happiness in the smallest, even in the smallest breaths and the smallest whispers. There's happiness.
Yeah. And I think Isela was like, she congratulating you on you know, just, she was thanking Story. Yeah. So we've got messages on the board, so I'll be putting them out there for you to read too. Before we go into the second half hour of the show, I want to show you folks the cover of the book. This is Changing the Stars Memoir, and let me remove this so that you can see the bottom of that. There we go. Make sure you check it out. In all the major book outlets, correct?
Amazon.com is the main one.
So we'll make sure to put out the link in a little bit for you guys to check it out and find it. I'm still reading it, and I'm gonna say I'm still reading it because I've had to stop and be like.
I think a lot of people say they have to take breaks because it's really hard to go through, but you hold your hand and kind of walk you through the pain.
And I'm going to say this for the book, like, is it a bad book? No, it's an awesome book. It's very light reading. Like, you can go through the chapters pretty quick. But I'm going to, I said to this to you before we started, there were times when I forgot how young you were. There were moments there where I was like, he's talking about him as a teen, and then like the next chapter, you're like, I was 4, and I was like, what? How? And tell me if this is going way too back or way too personal, but for folks that haven't read the book, where you pull the strength to get through everything.
I'm sorry, the sound was cutting out. What did you say? Can you repeat that?
I said, how, from where did that strength come from? How did you pull the strength to get through some of these situations when you were so young?
I dedicated my book to my older sister, who was my strength. My sister Sue and my sister Nancy, I call her Nina in the book, but my sister, my 2 older sisters took care of us. They changed our diapers, they fed us, they found food in dumpsters, they found things in they helped me. I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for them. And I had 2 younger brothers also that they took care of. I think that strength and that was ingrained in me somehow because my 2 little brothers have been in and out of prison. One of them's homeless now. One of them's in another one, actually a third, is has been in a psychiatric treatment center for 20 years. And then my older sister is trying to escape from this cult now that she married this cult leader and everything. But so I think that my sister Sue, who I dedicated the book, was my strength. But I remember during the abuse, like many times during the abuse, even at 3 and 4 years old, I remember looking into my abuser's eyes and knowing something inside me knew that this wasn't about me, that person was broken. I recognized that person was broken, and that's why he was hurting me. And I just remember wondering what had happened to that person, even so young, something in my soul. So it's something I can't really take credit for. That I don't think. I just know that I didn't want to end up like those people. And so I went the opposite direction. And that's where I found my strength, is just not wanting to become those people. They say hurt people. And I don't want to hurt anyone. I've always wanted to go completely opposite. I've always wanted to be a healer. I mean, of sorts. I've always wanted to be a little bit of a good story in everyone else's life that I come encounter with. So I think it's just something that's ingrained in me that I absolutely can't take credit for. The universe chose me in that sense.
For everybody watching, this is Put Together Conversations. I'm your host, Daniel G. Garza. My guest today is Cody Renegar. Renegar. Yeah. We're talking about his book, Surviving and Overcoming, and just looking for that silver lining. If you're watching live on any of our pages, please join the conversation, ask any question, make any comment, and I'll make sure that Cody sees it. If you're watching us on replay, please continue. Please share, make comments, and I'll make sure I get them to him even after the show has aired. I want to thank all of us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter for being our watching us today. So let's move on to now. Let's use this last half hour of the show to talk about now. Where is Cody now, and where did this book get you?
Well, now I am happily married to a very emotionally strong man. I think that I sought that out, or my soul sought out someone that has equal strength and that I could lean on, and he leans, as a marriage should be. I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. I have a very amazing son and daughter-in-law, and I've actively surrounded myself with the most beautiful friends. I handpicked each one of my friends that I know. If I lost my arms and legs or whatever looks or money I might have, those people would be around me. So I feel like I'm in a very safe place in my life. I've actively sought out the most wonderful people to surround myself with, and I think that's so important for healing and for moving forward in life. And I do mention some of that at the end of my book as well, the surrounding yourself and taking a good look at who is in your life and having no fear of removing the bad whatsoever. Life is so much better. Do not fear that. But I live in Brentwood, California. I am a celebrity hairstylist. I've been cutting hair for 27 years. I work in DC and Arkansas, where I see the most amazing clients there every 6 weeks. And I travel. My husband and I, I'll turn this around for a second. We travel the world. These are pictures of us from all over the planet. The pictures of us from all over the planet. And I just love traveling and seeing the world, and we bungee jump and do skydiving and just we climb castles. It's just we're just really focused on fully embracing this planet and the people in it and each stories. And the more people you meet, the better you are, especially if you're open-minded. The more I think we're all in this together, and I just feel like the more people you meet, the more people you talk to, it makes you a better person, it makes them a better person, and I just think that's what this is supposed to be, what this life is supposed to be about. So where am I today? I'm in a very, very happy place that I actively sought out.
It's before I ask you the question that's on the board. Yes, because I've been doing this show for 9 years, and the pleasure of interviewing more than 300 people through my career, and every one of them teaches me something new, and I'm able to become the person that I want to be. And it's so important, the choices. The question on the board, and you can answer any of it. Why do you think you've been able to overcome it? Your siblings haven't.
Thank you for asking that, Stella.
Stella, yeah.
I think myself personally, I think for my siblings, I don't think they understood. In fact, my 2 little brothers, they never met their dads, but they turned out to be exactly like them. They had different dads, and both of their dads were in and out of prison and everything. So there's definitely a nature versus nurture aspect, because at one point, all 5 of us were adopted and separated into different homes. All 4 of my siblings actually got these most beautiful, healthy families, and I was adopted into a very, very wealthy family who was extremely abusive, more abuse than I went through in all of my foster homes before them. So there is definitely a nature versus nurture thing. But my 2 little brothers, they weren't really involved. My littlest brother didn't even go through the abuse. There was no neglect, but he was too young for it. But I think that what they did was they built up these imaginary parents in their mind and idolized them. And they thought that prison was tough. They thought that being a badass was a good thing. And they just went in a different direction, and they're just the most unhealthy people I've known. And I have never allowed them in my life. In the last 20 years, I haven't, just because I was raising my son and I didn't want those influences. I didn't want him to look up to them, because to a child, someone like that might seem kind of cool, and I just did not want that. And my older sister, soon after she was adopted, her dad died. Her adopted dad died about 2 or 3 years into it, and she clung on to that, being a victim of that. She just identified as a victim, and had been angry, and possibly because she was much older than I was and took on a lot more abuse, that she just never was able to heal herself. So I'm not quite sure I know the answer to that, Estella, but hopefully I will work that out at some point, because I still want to reach out to them. I'm still trying. I'm still really trying to help them. And I think I wrote this book for them also, because this book is teaching you how not to be a victim, or how to identify if you are being a victim. And I just, I don't know why. I don't know why anybody would ever choose to be a victim, or why they would choose to keep reliving these memories, other than they are so familiar and that's all they know. And they think that being happy is just way out of reach.
Yeah.
So
And
I would love to know why.
one thing that I talk to my clients about when we're working on healing stuff is we get so used to being in the darkness of the tunnel that we start thinking that the darkness is normal, that the light just seems so uncomfortable for us, not realizing that in the light is where we'll find the better version of ourselves. And a lot of times it's like, hey, here's the flashlight, come toward Caroline, here's the light. And they're like, nope, I'll stay here with the demons. I'm good. I'll see you later.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I heard something yesterday that kind of resonated with me, that might answer this, is that it said shadows can't live in the darkness. So I think maybe if you stay in the dark, you can't see all of that stuff that's happening. And when you do go towards the light, all of those shadows start kind of dragging you back. So it's more comfortable in that darkness. And that's something new to me that happened yesterday.
Yeah. One of the things that I use, the reference I use with my clients as we are working, for those of you that don't know me, I'm a spiritual coach, and we help folks clean their chakras and cleanse their energy. As we're working on that, and I tell them your inner light will start shining, and people around you become one of two. They're either moths and they're attracted to your light, and those are the people you want to keep in your life, or they're roaches and they run and hide. And we don't chase after roaches, so let them go. But it's very difficult. It's difficult because we're also, I don't know if this happens to you, as I've been growing and working on myself, turning on that inner light can be scary sometimes, because you do have to, like, you find the cobwebs and you find
facing your demons, for sure.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes, I remember having to I didn't realize that I was struggling with some anger issues for a while. I mean, obviously there's reasons I would feel anger, but I just realized I was repeating these patterns, and going into those anger issues meant saying that I wasn't as far in my healing process as I thought I was. And so that I had to kind of back up and retrack, and that was pretty hard to do, to tell myself that, you never want to go backwards. Once you're going, if you're climbing a hill, you don't want to go back and be like, oh crap, I climbed that hill wrong, I missed a step. So you have to go back and start over. And I think that was that kind of explains that to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And Estella's right. We have to choose to be around those that bring the best in us, and you bring the best in them. But then sometimes we don't. Sometimes we only know, especially as you're growing up, like you only know how to get this high. You don't know that the better's up here. Right. So you only go that far, and you attract people at that level. Does that make sense? Not realizing,
especially if you surround yourself by people at that level. That's your goal. And once you've gotten there, you think that's it. Yeah, they always say surround yourself with people smarter than you, or bigger than you, so that you always have a place to reach up to.
Yeah. And fortunately, we get older and hopefully wiser and smarter and better looking, and that helps us attract. Because it was there. I mean, I lived in alcohol and drugs for 16 years, and I was meeting people at that level, because that's the highest level of enjoyment that I knew was to get drunk and get high at the end of the night. That was it. That was the highest level of enjoyment. And then when I got sober and they were like, okay, we're going to take that level out. We're going to take that roof out of you so you can grow taller, like a tree, just grow taller. And then as I grew taller, I was like, whoa, there's way more out there in the horizon than I thought possible. Does that make
Oh
sense?
yeah, like growing up through the canopy in a jungle or something. I love this analogy.
Yeah. As we let go of some of those vices or addictions,
Mm-hmm.
feeling worthy, and you take that tree, and the tree grows taller, and the higher it climbs, the more it sees. So that's
See, it comes with
uh,
finding out how to love yourself as well. Loving yourself is definitely the fertilizer for that, for lack of a better.
yep,
Yeah,
yeah,
love yourself makes you just get bigger. And when you love yourself more, you're going to surround yourself by people because you realize that you deserve more than the people that are around you. Yeah, not looking back at myself at different stages, I remember being surrounded by people that I don't want to be anything like those people now. And I was becoming like those people. And at that point, I thought we were having the best time of our lives. But looking back now, I didn't realize then how lost I was in that cloud, in
yeah.
that falseness.
But the one thing that I find is at that time, probably what I needed to get to where I am now. I needed to learn those lessons to become the man that I am today. Um, at least that's how it worked for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, you can't find you need the dark to show. Without dark, there's no light. That's another thing I wrote in the book because one third of it is just pure awfulness, and I said I can't just write all about the happy stuff. So I need to be able to show the dark so that I know the light. So yeah, the light can't be light without dark. I get it. I hear you.
Yep.
I get it.
There's a balance. There's a balance, folks. Don't just eat dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is good too. So have a little bit of both. Before we move on to the last 5 minutes, I want to remind everybody you're watching Put Together Conversations. I'm your host. My guest today is author Cody Renegar. Renegar. Yeah, Renegar. There you go. Renegar. I can just say it in my head so I can pronounce it correctly. Here is the cover of his book. So you guys, where is it? There we go. There he goes. Make sure you check it out on Amazon. We're going to put the links up for you guys to find it, but we'll also give you the this fan page on Facebook. So make sure you go check him out. Become a fan. Follow him. The book is awesome. I'm waiting for us to finish so I can go back and read again before my next interview at 2:00 because I will read more. And mainly, as I told you a little earlier, like mainly because there's some similarities. Like I was molested when I was a kid and for a long time associated men with sex. There was a strong connection that in order for me to fit in with men, there had to be a sexual connection, and otherwise there wasn't a friendship. Like, what do you mean we're not? Like, you're not going to touch me? Well, then you don't like me. And
Yeah.
it took many years and a lot of therapy to break through that. That now I can have straight going to that place, which ruined a lot of friendships as I was growing up. But I didn't understand, and it was always they're wrong. They're wrong. How you're not really my friend because we're not having a sexual relationship. But it took a long time to break out of that mold. So as I'm reading about your through the book, and I'm like, I had to go back and talk to myself at a certain moment and go, dude, like little me, like we're not there anymore. We're not there anymore. We've outgrown that. So just go be a kid, enjoy life. It's okay.
And doesn't it feel
I
good
guess
though?
that's my little
Get that
yeah.
out, you feel much better. You feel more pure. You feel it's almost like a dirty clothes. It's like taking these dirty clothes off that you didn't dirty out. I just to me it just is so freeing to get rid of those negative connotations that you hang on to. That time it just makes me. It's just such a. Why would you not want to be a better person, stronger person?
Yeah. And then I'm gonna throw my little my plug. I just my children's book. I wrote a children's book, and it comes out It's on pre-sale right now, but it goes out on the 30th. So everybody, it's on the other
All
shows.
right.
So yeah, and I dedicated it to my mom. But there's also a picture of me when I was about 7 years old, 6 or 7 years old, and I went back and talked to him and said, "Will you help me write this book?" So I had a meditation session with myself and said, "Hey, little Daniel, can you help me write this book in a way that you will
Oh,
understand
that's
it?"
amazing.
And so everything works out the way it's supposed to. I'm a big believer in that. So you coming on the show today, when the pre-sale just came out on Wednesday, was so like, whoa, like this is supposed to happen. So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
I'll share with you after the show. I'll share with you a
Yeah,
little
and
bit
I
more
want to
about
get that
that.
book.
And but thank you, Barbie. Thank you, and Barbie Engel, a really good friend of mine too. Thank you for being on the show. I'm going to show you folks. We're at the 15-minute mark, and Cody, this is the part of the show where I ask my guests to share some words of wisdom with the audience. And what words of wisdom would you like to share?
Words of wisdom, just in
Yes.
general.
Yeah, just about anything you want to talk about.
I think the best thing you can say, I think something that I say to myself often is just to give yourself a little wiggle room to be human. Don't be so hard on yourself. You know, if you're trying and you're not gaining whatever it is you're after fast enough or strong enough, you're probably doing it exactly how you're supposed to do it. So just give yourself a little wiggle room. Maybe you're not supposed to grow that fast. Maybe you need to do smaller steps or bigger steps, but just don't give up. Give yourself wiggle room to be human.
I like
That's
that.
my
That's Give yourself wiggle room to do that. That should be on a shirt. Let's talk about that after the show. It should be a t-shirt. Give yourself wiggle room to be human. I like that. That's very cool. Let me show again, folks, your copy of your book. Remember, folks, go check this out. In any, I'm sorry, in Amazon, we'll make sure to get the link so you can go and purchase it. Putting up his official page. It's right there, so go check it out on Facebook so you can. Yeah, there it is. I if what enforcement does it mean? But if you have gone through stuff in your life, and I feel like we all seek that when you've gone through things in your life, you seek other people who have gone through something similar because then you're like, you get me. You get me. Like, yeah, like I can be my most authentic self because you get me. So I don't know if people will understand this. I was excited once I read your book. I was excited to you because I was like, Cody's going to understand my questions. He gets me. Like
Oh
we
man.
come from a similar background. Um, it's the like concept. Like six
There's a
like.
certain bond that just automatically happens when you find your birds of a feather, I guess, your people. There's a certain connection that you just allow yourself to just relax a bit because you don't have to hide any part of yourself like that.
Yeah.
I get that.
There's just. I'm not gonna cry, Cody. Stop it. There's It's my show and I don't cry here. There's like I said, there's some people that you God, I can't believe I'm speechless right now. Shut up, people. Um, the, one of the most wonderful things about having my own talk show, and like I said earlier, having this podcast. I had the podcast for 9 years. We just ended the podcast. We're doing just live streams now. But I had the pleasure and honor to talk to nearly 500 people as I was making it count in my head. We've talked to almost 500 people in 9 years. And every now and then somebody like you comes on and I'm like, I just want to be your friend. Like, I want to be your friend because like I need a friend like that. I need a friend
I got
that
you. We're
understands.
friends.
Like
Done.
there's who um having gone through a lot of things that I went through in my young life, and dealing with stuff as a teenager, and knowing everything begins with a vision. Amen, sir. Um, uh, being in a relationship first off, like I was 20, and trying to fill in the relationship with all these pieces, the pieces that I knew, that's all that I knew, and realizing that it was not healthy. But then going through life, trying to make good, make life adjust to my offbeat, if that makes sense, was so difficult. And now that I'm older, I'm like, like I can look at my relationship now with Christian, my partner, and be like, it's not perfect, but man, it's just the perfect thing for me. And he understands me. He gets my craziness. He fills in the blanks when I don't find the words, and that is so cool. Joe, thank you for being. I don't know if that any of that makes sense, but thank you for thank you for being you. That's all I can say. Thank you, Estella. Yes, he is an amazing dude. He's amazing. There was really no question in that. I think I was just like confessing my
Wow, you
moment.
say that. You wanted to say awesome.
We have about 10 more minutes to go. What have we not talked about that you want to bring up?
I think that I just want to be clear that this book isn't. It's not just me writing my memoir. It's more. I wanted to. It's kind of a guidebook to being happy, a guidebook to choosing happiness. And in all of these dark stories I tell how I got out of it, or how my mindset, how I changed my mindset. They say that when you, how does that go? When you, there's a saying, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I think that it's just all about the perspective and changing that, and you can have a beautiful, full life. There's no, you set your mind to it, you set a goal, then there's no way you're going to fail. You can have a happy life, and happiness doesn't mean being rich or famous or anything like that, or anything like that, or finding the perfect spouse. These are not all the things, like you said when you went to rehab, all the things that you think you know are not usually true. So, oh, there's my husband saying hi.
Oh,
Terry.
hello, Mr. Husband. Welcome to the show.
So all those things that they talk about, I mean, all the things I talk about in here, all the dark things I talk about, I tell you how I got out of it and who helped me out of it. If it was myself or if it was someone that the universe just sent in my path that I had to recognize. At one point, there was a crosswalk guard that just shed so much love in our lives, my siblings' lives and mine, that she probably doesn't even realize that she was such a light of hope that we saw twice a day. And we were being violently abused at home. And I looking back now, I see that she would like pull my shirt open, and I was like, "What's she doing?" She was looking for bruises and cuts and things. And so it was just oh, I got sidetracked again. So I think it's just looking for all those positive things in your life. And my book tells a lot of the dark, but it also tells how to get out of it and how you can get out of your light. I mean, you can get out of your darkness and choose happiness. And you don't have to live. You can live a full. This is a short life. You do the work. You can have everything you want. Absolutely everything you want.
Don't wait to make the changes in your life that you need. Do it now. Don't fear the light. Don't fear the light. It's again, it's so interesting because when I was in rehab, my dad and I were not very close. I kind of started showing signs of my sexuality, my identity when I was very young. So growing up, my dad was not like, okay, no sports. Like, I know you're not going to play sports, so I'm not going to take you. I'm going to show you. But when I went to rehab, I was 36 when I went to rehab. And some of the guys were outside on an afternoon tossing a football, and they tossed it at me, and I was like, I don't know what you want me to do with. What do you want me to do with this? Like, I don't know. And one of the guys was like, "Here, let me show you how to throw a football." And I still look at that moment just with like so much happiness. I talked to people about rehab, and I'm like, I went to summer camp. To me, it was because I went in on June 21st, got on August 23rd. To me, that was summer camp because they taught me how to throw a ball, how to light a fire, how to grill, how to hammer.
What was that, Boy
Uh,
Scouts or something? What was
no, this was rehab. I was 36 years old. I know it sounds like a kid's summer camp,
Oh,
but it was
wow.
adult. I mean, it was a summer. It was, but I tell people I went to summer camp because I was I did all the things that I wasn't allowed to participate in as a kid. I did them at 36 years old, and it was the best time of my life. It made me a man. So yes, I agreeing with you. Like it's those people that don't really realize they're just making an impact. And I've made an effort as an adult to want to be a person that makes an impact. Like not necessarily like go out of my way, but like just be nice to somebody. Like, just be nice.
What do you mean that it made you a man? What does that mean to you?
I didn't think of myself as a fool. At 36 years old, I'm like, I'm not productive. I'm not contributing to the world. I'm not
Right.
like I was very narcissistic and selfish, and
I think you
it's
were a
all
man
about-
already, though. I don't think throwing a ball and building a
Well,
campfire makes somebody a man. Because my little
it
sister
was it was not the physical activity of it. It was the way I felt inside. Like I can do this.
empowering. I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Not necessarily. I mean, I still can't throw a ball for save me. Yeah,
Yeah.
still not. But the way it made me feel inside is like, oh wow, like I was talking earlier about having that relationship with other men that didn't require sex.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful.
And it was the first time that
some need to learn that. So many, even I mean, men and women, all of us. I mean, a lot of people need to learn that.
Yeah, so it not necessarily the physical activity, but the way it made me feel inside and going, I have value, and somebody's taking the time to teach me.
So important.
And now I try to dedicate my life to doing that. It's like I don't need anything from you. I'm not asking for anything. Like I'm just being nice because I want to be nice. Like
That's a beautiful. Yeah, isn't that the coolest feeling? I think that so many people are. We always harbor this thing where people are being nice to us. We think that they're expecting something from us, and that's not. And it's just the most beautiful thing whenever you realize they just want to be your friend. They just want to be around you because of you. I think that's so wonderful. I have so many beautiful friends that I could fail as hard as I could, and they're just going to still stand there and help me up, and I can so raw in front of them, and that's just so beautiful that they're there in that way.
And you're right, Micah. It does get better as we embrace ourselves. And you're most welcome. Thank you all for watching. We're coming down to the last couple of minutes of the show. So that message coming in. Find yourself, accept yourself, and love yourself. And,
Yes.
I stand behind that. Yes, totally. So in the last couple of minutes before we leave, anything else you'd like to say before we go?
No, I'm just watching. Yeah, go buy it and read it, and also let me know what you think of it. Send me a message on Facebook or anything. I will answer absolutely every single message. So send me a message, and I want to know if it helped, if it didn't, if there's something I could have said that may have done more, because maybe I'll write another book.
So for everyone watching, go check them out right here on the official web page on Facebook. Go buy the book right there. Check it out. It's on Amazon. You won't regret it. It's just it's such an interesting story. You're such an interesting dude. I'm so glad you were here.
Oh, man,
thank you so much.
you.
And I can't go by. Thank you, Rick, for suggesting this meet and the interview. Please keep sending me more people. I appreciate it. Cody, I'm going to put you in the green room for a second. Don't go away. Let me just say goodbye to everybody.
Bye, guys.
For everybody watching, this has been Put It Together Conversations. I'm your host, Danny J. Garcia. Thank you for watching. Remember, we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Check us out. If you can share this with your family and friends so they can watch it, I really appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, you scroll down there and hit that subscribe button and like the show. If you're watching this on replay, you can still ask questions, post comments, and I'll make sure that we get these over to Cody. For now, remember, we are here every Saturday at noon and 5 with a special show every once in a while. So check us out. Make sure you're following us. On Wednesdays, we have the Christian and Daniel show at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And on Friday is the Card Devo at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you check all of our channels for more information, and so you can join us on all those. Remember, Putting Together Conversations is a show about folks, where they come from, where they are now, and what their story's like. And we want to motivate and inspire other people to go after their dreams and goals. So what is your Put It Together story? Come on the show and let us know. For now, I am your host, Daniel Chicarza, and we'll see you next time. Hey, put it together.